Media conference with Lal Goyal, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today's topic is a very, very important topic. And the topic is essence of education. The essence of education lies in drawing out the very best that is in you. The essence of education is not to get a certificate or job, but to be holistically developed person who can positively impact the society. There are two educations. One teaches us how to make a living and the other how to live. In this quote, John Edmundson beautifully brought out the true essence of education. While on one hand, it highlights the necessity of educating oneself to earn a living, on the other hand, it throws light on the ethical dimension of human life. Education is the process of receiving or giving systematic instruction, especially at a school or university. Education gives us a knowledge of the world around us and changes it into something better. It develops in us a perspective of looking at life. It helps us build opinions and have points of views on things in life. People debate over the subject of whether education is the only thing that gives knowledge. Education began in prehistory as adults trained the young in the knowledge and skills deemed necessary in their society. In pre-literate societies, this was achieved orally and through imitation. Storytelling passed knowledge, values, and skills from one generation to the next. As cultures began to extend their knowledge beyond skills that could be readily learned through imitation, formal education developed. The world is changing at an ever quickening rate, which means that a lot of knowledge becomes obsolete and inaccurate more quickly. The emphasis is therefore shifting to teaching the skills of learning, to picking up new knowledge quickly and in as agile a way as possible. Finnish schools have even begun to move away from the regular subject-focused curricula, introducing instead developments like phenomenon-based learning, where students study concepts like climate change instead. There are also active educational interventions to implement programs and paths specific to non-traditional students, such as first-generation students. Education is also becoming a commodity, no longer reserved for children, even adults need it too. Mark Twain says, I have never let my schooling interfere with my education. Tactfully put, this means that schooling and education are two different units. They may be looked upon in isolation or as entities that can coexist, or more opportunities as units that should go hand in hand. While schooling refers to academic education and qualification that a person receives in school, college, and university, education means any form of knowledge that a person can gather or receive from anyone, anywhere, and everywhere. An illiterate person may not be academically educated, but he or she may certainly be educated in his or her manners, behaviors, opinions, and views, and his or her actions and reactions at home and in the society at large. Where does he or she achieve acclamation from society and the world, if not from the environment and the ambience that he or she lives in? He or she may be deprived of a structured academic curriculum, but he or she may have the correct and befitting disposition of a righteous heart and mind. He or she may be poor in terms of academic education, but richer in terms of a pious and virtuous moral life. After all, What use is a great academic record if the heart and actions of such a person is limited only to various degrees that he or she may have achieved? It is important for us to understand the importance of education that should be made available to both boys and girls. Therefore, education must help us understand the profound extent of life. It must help us become individuals that can live a life free from any form of anxiety, discrimination, and trepidation. Education must prepare us for life. Our existence on earth is an assemblage of people from all walks of life. Thus, we cannot simply limit our understanding of education only to formal academic education. We have to cohabit and understand the tenet and canals of a happy and peaceful coexistence. This should definitely come from a structured, well thought out setup of education, but it must also come from an education that we derive through observation, experiences, and influences in life. Education should generate the overall growth and development of an individual. A quote from Aristotle sums up all. Educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. As much as it is important to arm and educate our minds, it is equally important to educate our hearts as well. Let us all educate ourselves to realize the value and worth of our fellow being as much as we value and treasure our individual hearts and minds. Keeping with the actual concept of education besides the current norm, the educators need to offer a plethora of enriching school activities, transdisciplinary in nature, and aspire to go beyond the given requirements in enhancing the learning experience for students, especially encouraging student research and opportunities to pursue various topics. The focus of every educator has to be that of working on skills, attitudes, and values that will enable students to be ethical individuals who are basically motivated, emotionally intelligent, and responsible citizens of our country. Providing value-based education and developing globally responsible citizens may appear to be very lofty, due to which there may be a tendency that schools lay greater emphasis on mere integration of technology into education, infrastructure, etc. However, the true essence of teaching and learning does not eliminate the aspect of values, which is an integral and indispensable element of education. The need of the hour is to provide holistic education, and if educators have the responsibility to educate ethical, motivated, emotionally intelligent, and socially responsible students, then the responsibility of nurturing highly committed and prepared teacher also solely lies on us. In this present digital age, teachers need to make a shift from the conventional teaching to new and increasingly accepted methods to develop holistic human beings. Teachers have the accountability to create critical thinking skills for academic success and also success in the performing arts, media, leadership activities, and sports, etc., by opening avenues to explore things beyond classroom. Teacher, as a facilitator, should delve on the innovative aspects of teaching and learning and make education child-centered and interesting. Although technology today is seen as one of the most important component in education, integration of values, involvement of students in community transformation projects, and making them aware of what the actual world is all about and what its demand are in, is equally important. The National Education Policy 2020 or NEP 2020, which was approved by the Union Cabinet of India on 29th July 2020, outlines the vision of India's new education system. The policy is a comprehensive framework for elementary education to higher education, as well as vocational training in both rural and urban India. The policy aims to transform India's educational system. And to discuss a very, very important and relevant topic, that is essence of education, we have a very, very elite, well qualified, well experienced, and I can say the authorities in their field panel with us. I would like to invite my first panelist guest, and he is Professor Dr. P. Subramania. He is the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Mangalore University. Professor Dr. P. Subramania is having more than 3 decades of experience in teaching, research, and administration. Professor Subramania did his MCom from Mangalore University in 1982, securing first rank with gold medal. He obtained PhD degree from Mangalore University in 1992 in the area of consumer behavior. He worked as professor, trainer, and consultant. He published 46 research papers in national and international journals of repute. He did postdoctoral research at Nottingham Business School, Nottingham Trent University, England, on HRD policies and practices. He also did a cross-national study of India and Britain under the Commonwealth Fellowship Scheme during 2001-2002. He received an international award entitled eLearn International Award 2003 from Scotland, UK for his best research paper on trends and status of corporate e-learning and Indian experience. He also received the prestigious Devang Mehta National Award for Best Teacher in Human Resource Management in November 2009. He is down to earth, ready to listen, and eager to implement. Welcome, Professor Dr. P. Subramania on our show. Professor Dr. P. Subramania, as you know that we have done so many programs on education, but whether the education is really giving or making or improving this society the way we want, or we means the teachers or those who have dreamt for a holistic, good educated society for the India. Now, you being a leader, you are a vice chancellor of a very, very prestigious university, and you are looking definitely to give the best education to the students. But we would like to know essence of education from you, Professor Dr. P. Subramania, please.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Lal Goyal ji and distinguished fellow panelists. The topic is very, very vibrating one, essence of education. I'm afraid we may miss the wood for trees. It means I cannot see the forest because of trees. Sometimes, we will experience a kind of conceptual ambiguity. The term education is made up of 9 letters of English alphabet. And more often than not, the term education is used, overused, misused, and also abused. As you rightly said, education is not just equal to academic qualification. So to get inspiration from Swami Vivekananda in his contribution, say, Nation Building and Man-Making Mission, he has rightly said, education is the manifestation of perfection which is already there in a person. So it means we do not do anything more than that. It is already there, it is packaged. But the question is, are we in a position to unlock and unleash the potential within every individual by creating both conducive congenial atmosphere inside the classroom and more so outside the classroom? Another inspiration for me is educated person is one who has got the capacity to learn and change. Unless we have got the capacity and willingness to learn and change, we will not be able to understand and appreciate the essence of education. So it means three things are very, very important. First of all, we should change to learn. In order to bring about change in others, charity should always begin at home. We must change ourselves. Changing oneself is nothing but changing our own perception, thought process, feelings, action tendencies, and finally actions. Therefore, change to learn. The second phase is learn to change. And the third one is the most fundamental of everything, that is learn to learn. Learn to learn is the most fundamental of all learning, because we do appreciate and accept the fact that we are in a lifelong learning machine, and lifelong learning mission is nothing but we are living in a learning society. We are daily interacting with the community of practice called COP. So it means another three things are very, very important to truly understand the essence of education. The first one is unlearn. Unlearn what we have wrongly learned all these days. In the changed circumstances, same old thing will not hold water in practice. The same old lens will not give us a different picture. So unless we change the lens so as to fit into the changed circumstances, we will not be able to visualize what it is before us or what is in store for us. Therefore, unlearn what we have wrongly learned all these days. I understand it's a truly painful process, a very difficult proposition. The second phase is relearn new things. By unlearning, we'll be creating a new learning space so that we can accommodate new learning inputs. That is the process of relearning. The third phase is the most embracing one, that is getting ourselves committed to the continuous process of learning, improvement, and development. I call it CLID, continuous learning, improvement, and development. This is the main motto of any educational endeavor. So unfortunately, today we come across a kind of dilemma. Qualification is not equal to education. A person is holding postdoctoral degree with the doctorate and everything, so many additional accomplishments, academic accomplishments. Your degree or anything is in terms of your academic qualifications, and in support of our claims, we produce degrees, marks cards, and cumulative grade point average CGPA. But that itself is not just equal to education. So education is much broader than this, much more meaningful than merely academic qualifications. Therefore, another point to be noted by all of us is qualification is not equal to competency. Many of the positions in the corporate sector are left vacant, not for want of what you call qualified candidates, but for want of competent candidates. There is a clear-cut difference between qualification and competency. To me, it appears that competency is made up of 5 critical ingredients. I put it in the form of an acronym, KASHV, KASHV. K stands for knowledge. What kind of knowledge? 5 W's are available in the Google platform. What, why, where, when, who. We'll get answers when you Google them. You'll get it. But the biggest question is how? How to convert our theory into practice? How to put it into practice? How to solve a very meaningful, useful, societally beneficial problems with the help of the application of our knowledge. Therefore, K to me in the form of educational framework is domain-specific application-oriented knowledge. Then A stands for attitude. Unless we decorate ourselves with a positive mental attitude, we'll always see the darker side of anything. We should be optimistic. We should be positive. That's what I say normally. First, be good, then do good. That's possible only when we have got this kind of positive mental attitude. S stands for what you call skill mix. It means unless we possess requisite skill mix, we will not be able to convert theoretical propositions into practically useful performance. Therefore, skill sets are important. National Skill Development Corporation has been talking about the problem of de-skilling of Indian human resource. I am strongly convinced of the fact that in India, there is no unemployment problem provided you are employable. Unfortunately, we are focusing on only two E's, education and employment, forgetting about the most important E, that is employability. Therefore, skill sets are very, very important. Then comes H. H is nothing but habit of learning. When we acquire meaningful, practical, useful, and morally befitting learning practices in the higher education institutions, later on they'll be carried forward to the workplace so as to become what you call positive, result-oriented work habits. And employers are very much interested in this kind of positive, result-oriented work habits. Then comes the last one, V. In Bible, there is a holy scripture which reads like this: values left in our children touch their destiny more than valuables left to them. So therefore, value-based education. Our National Education Policy 2020, to cut the long story short, normally I say nation first, character must. Therefore, when you are becoming bankrupt as far as the stock of values is concerned, then no question of education, because you are only holding academic degrees, but you are ill-educated, because that kind of situation is there. Therefore, qualification must be converted into competency. Competency is made up of knowledge, attitude, skills, habits, and values. Then another important point to be noted when we are educating a person, there is a world of difference among data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. Similarly, in the field of education, as you have rightly pointed out in your preamble, that is what we say, we must be able to create meaningful and societally useful knowledge, that is knowledge creation, then knowledge documentation, then knowledge dissemination, then knowledge sharing, and eventually or ultimately there should be knowledge application in the form of improved processes and products. And there are two kinds of knowledge. Whether our educational system is appreciating these two kinds of knowledge. One is tacit knowledge or the implicit knowledge. Tacit knowledge always resides in human mind. And most of the time, we are unable to tap this kind of tacit knowledge which resides in human mind. The another one is explicit knowledge, which is already converted in the form of black and white. Therefore, the biggest challenge in the education endeavor is how to tap tacit knowledge. Then education and the humanity. Highly educated person may not have any ingredients to understand and appreciate the human values. If you are not humanizing the process, if you are not having empathy and compassion, then education will go waste. Therefore, when we understand the religious values, normally I say VSP. V stands for values, S stands for symbols, P stands for practices. Values are commonly propagated in all the religions. The only thing is symbols and practices vary. For example, Islam says, advance me in knowledge. Okay. In Christianity, I told you already, values left in our children touch their destiny more than valuables left to them. Therefore, knowledge should provide this kind of immortal values or the eternal values. Hinduism talks about what we call knowledge is light, knowledge is power. Therefore, we have to share knowledge so that it can be enriched. Ultimately, educated person will be in a position to listen to the inner voice and carefully watch the inner ethical compass for getting the directions. Therefore, we have to watch our watch. It means watch our words, watch our attitude and actions, watch our thoughts, watch our character, and watch our honesty and hope. That is what watch our watch. Educated person will never forget one's own history. Because if we forget our history, we cannot create our history, as Baba Saheb Ambedkar rightly said. Therefore, educated person will be always responsible, transparent, and accountable. And educated person will always respect empathy and not just sympathy. And he or she will be universally compassionate. And he or she will follow one dictum, that is every time one step ahead. And he will always take the process further forward. He is not interested in survival, but living gracefully is more important than anything else. And he or she will put his or her best foot forward to make things happen. He or she will walk the talk, brings difference in the lives of others, answers the critics only through deeds, responds, not reacts. So these are the virtues to be inculcated. And if time permits, in the end, I'm going to encapsulate the essence of education in 9 letters of the word education, EDUCATION. It means totally I'll come out with 54 ingredients. According to numerology, 54 means 5 plus 4. Again, you'll get 9. So if time permits, the end we'll see. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. P. Subramania, for describing about the education and what is the essence of education. And according to Professor Dr. P. Subramania, although he has explained everything in details, only one point which I would like to highlight is that the education in all the religions are basically to create the virtue, the value in the person. And if you are a person who is having some virtues, if you have a compensation, if you have empathy for the society and for others, then your education is really worthwhile. Otherwise, to have only the degrees or the education from the schools or colleges or universities is not going to give the essence of what is required. So according to Professor Dr. P. Subramania, learn to learn. And if you want to learn, you have to go inside yourself, see inside, inner voice, learn, see what your inner voice is saying, how you can be change to others. And he says that the new education or National Education Policy 2020 is a milestone in this way, that where the value education will be imparted to the students very soon. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. P. Subramania. Today, I will not going to summarize much because there are a very heavy duty and I want to hear more and more so that our viewers will be enriched by the knowledge which you people are having. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. P. Subramania, for giving your views. Now, I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and he is Mr. V.M. Ramalingam. Mr. V.M. Ramalingam is a master's graduate with a specialization in management and finance from Madras University, having 35 years of managerial experience in organizations covering the fields of manufacturing, finance, marketing, and HRD. Mr. Ramalingam is an NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming Master Practitioner and Master Trainer. Mr. Ram, because he wants that he should be called as Ram. So Mr. Ram is a qualified human process facilitator, certified coach, psychological counselor, OD consultant, assessment center facilitator, and trainer. Mr. Ram is a professional member of Indian Society for Applied Behavioral Science, ISABS. He is a qualified behavioral scientist and a facilitator of human process laboratories. In 1972, he was honored with the lifetime title as Honorary Deputy Marshal of Dodge City, USA. Welcome, Mr. Ramalingam, on our show. Mr. Ram, you have heard what Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. P. Subramania has spoken about the essence of education. Now, we would like to know from you, essence of education. Mr. V.M. Ramalingam, please.
Thank you, sir, for this kind of introduction. Whenever I get this kind of introduction, it becomes a tonic for my self-confidence. Oh, is it so much of me? Okay. I have learned to be like this. And how many people are responsible for it? Particularly, in Peter, I think the guy who wrote Marketing Practice of Management, and he wrote in his dedication, this book is dedicated to my students who have taught to me so much. So the first responsibility of any teacher is learning. And learning does not come from education. It is coming from the nurture of our inborn nature. So learning is inborn. It is not inculcated. It is modified, improved, sidelined, suppressed. All these things are happening. But you are a vegetarian. Don't look at chicken. Okay, right. Even live cocks, he is not looking thereafter. See, this is how many conditioning is taking place. The essence of learning is individuation. That is the first learning, We are all born, we came to umbilical cord is cut. There itself physical birth, when it takes place, I'm individuating myself from the most protected heaven called mother's womb. And heaven is already over. And thereafter we individuate and start crying in anger and pain. If we are not crying immediately, we are born, others are crying. So the pain is the nature. From the pain to protect ourselves, our soul's life and existence, we compulsively learn by nature from inside. And we start learning, slowly we become individuals through individuating process. Every individuation process is splitting psychologically. I am splitting myself from my mother. Then connections I am getting, for that I am foregoing something, I am gaining something. I become an individual by developing uniqueness. Unique means being different. If I am not different, I am not unique. If I have to be different, I have to necessarily learn. I cannot be indifferent. If I am indifferent to what is impacting me, I cannot learn. So if I am not listening to what are the essential of Dr. Subramania's presentation here, it will not be impacted. The five senses, all the five senses have been focused together. I found it very difficult. And people say that in your 80s, entering of 80s, it is going to be a great challenge for you. Memory is going to be a great challenge for you, like that. And I am taking many Ayurvedic medicines to maintain my memory. Okay, that is something, because it's a great challenge for me. An old aged person is defined as though he remembers what has happened clearly 40 years back. But remember what has happened 40 minutes back. I was about to miss this engagement also today. Paulus invited me. Oh, like that, I rushed in here. And so these are some of the challenges to learning to be, or being educated to be punctual with reference to time. We are all born with time, but if we do not know how to manage ourselves within a time, to begin a time, to close a time, and all that. So these are all some of the life-making efforts by nature. And it is the essence of education and learning. Education comes from others to make us to become free. This is what Carl Rogers said. I'm belonging to that school, being an applied behavioral science field fellow. I'm a student of applied behavioral science, applied psychology, and also social existential psychology. And Carl Rogers, I belong to his school. And a few others like Dr. Uday Parikh, and who had been very close to me for more than 2 decades, very close. And I lost him about 1.5 decades back. And a great person who has inspired me to be a good applier. He was not educating, he was facilitating. He never told me like this, Ram, you have to do this. Never told. For 22 years. He was professor of IIM, Dean, behavioral science, and he educated. See, that is what I'm telling. Education is only an English word with 9 letters, as you're told. And these 9 alphabets are there. Alphabets create words, but the meanings are created in mind. So alphabets disappear, mind it starts working. So the goal, according to Carl Rogers, is the goal is to assist students to become individuals first. Then those students are able to take self-initiated action. Self-initiated action. You see, information can be transferred through education, but action has to be self-initiated. That is what he is saying. How are you going to trigger those guys and to start their action? Very, very wonderfully he is signing this. And to be responsible for those actions. This is the most important thing. It's not only self-initiated action, but also responsible for the outcome of this action. For this is the purpose of education. Are you doing it? He was asking when he disappeared from this global existence in 60s, but his words still live in many minds. So that is what he has told, and the goal is to assist students to become individuals who are able to take self-initiated action and to be responsible for those actions. Taking responsibility is the essence. Even 7 habits of highly effective people. And he is very clearly saying responsibility means your responsibility. Our whole life and our learning is for our responsibility. See, something always, whether you want it or not, it will impact you. Impact, first response is feeling. If feeling is not happening, there is no experience. If experience is not happening, real learning does not take place. Only knowing will take place. Knowledge can be improved. I have wonderful knowledge about cricket. Front foot, if I am playing for an in-swinger, I will be out for LBW or give a sneak catch. I know it. But I am not a batsman. If bat is given to me, I will be out. In the first delivery, all the 3 stumps will go with an elementary school team because I have not learned. See, you can educate by transfer of information. And the outcome of that education is the main focus of any responsibility of a teacher, facilitator, a trainer, or whatever it is. And so we have to focus not just to goal. Goal ends mostly with the examination. See, Livingston wrote an article which I read in the 60s in one of my non-choice reading, like that one reading our non-detailed books. See, most of my learning came from, my wisdom came from non-detailed. Detailed education gave only knowledge. Non-detailed education, reading only gave me wisdom. In that book, choice reading, there is a non-detailed book, non-detailed. So we call it a non-detailed class, non-detailed class. And there he writes, 2 roads on the, 2 dragons on the road is the title of the article. I still remember the title. 2 dragons on the road. 2 dragons on the road of education are 1, specialization. Number 2, examination. That's what he is saying. Who examines whom for what? See, who examines whom for what? And every learning is self-discovery. It is not self-invention, because as Dr. Subramania has already told, everything is within here, with the very rightful quoting. And human beings, 4 A's are very important. 4A means aware, acknowledge, accept, act. Then 4 F's, field, force, focus, finish. You see, which field I am studying? Commerce I am studying. Okay, field. There, how far I can go? Is it only depth? But also width. As Dr. has already told, Subramania has told, are we missing the forest for the trees? See, trees only gives the fruit. Forest only provides the environment. You see, school is a forest. Tree is a student, actually. He has to bear fruit elsewhere. You are just preparing that seed, and that seed has to properly find a space for it. Now, getting a placement and all that, we say placement is very good arranged. Who is placing whom? See, we are educating people, but whether employability is there. In one of the panels in Pondicherry University, when I was sitting, general manager of was also there. General manager of TCS in Baraj. He was also there. And he was telling one thing. And what is employability? Employability is not there like that. Only Vice Chancellor, she was an Islamic lady, and he was acting Vice Chancellor. She was asking the question, you are often saying employability. Can you explain it more? The question time. That's why sometimes we are more learning from question time rather than presentation time. See, when the came, then I asked, anybody has the answer, what is employability? One girl from the about seventh row, she raised the hand, MBA student. She raised the hand and told, what is employability? Sir, employability is common sense. Can you go further? I told. Employability is not ending up with syllabus learning, but going beyond it for soft skills, she was telling. I told her, tell your name loud. TCS is here. My friend is here. He will recruit you for TCS right now, I told. Because, employability is nothing but developing one's soft skills. Soft skills means what? Soft skill does not come from others. Soft skill is developed by myself. Communication, for example. I have to develop. You have to speak grammatically correct. Renan Martin will give you grammar. And sometimes ungrammatical expressions are more effective. Without one word verbs are more powerful than a sentenced verb. So we have to understand this is very important thing. And another important thing, the article of Carl Rogers itself, I was impressed, is learning to be free. See, the education is helping people to learn to be free. First of all, to free myself from past learning. That's what doctor was calling us unlearning. First of all, many of my greatest problems come from what I have already studied. Greatest problems. And adaptability is something that is more important. And spontaneity is what is to be learnt. And if I were in modern time, the most important element of culture is speed. First is speed, second informality. Third is freedom. Everybody wants freedom. Third one. The fourth one is youth. Youth is the boss of elders now in today's situation. After 40, no placement is available. No, you can't change your job also. People don't respect it. And up to 40 only. So youth, then health. Health has become an industry now. And it is a great challenge right now in Corona. See, what I am saying is, these 5 elements should be always kept in when we are promoting education. One is, first and foremost thing is, the speed. How fast that guy is able to respond to any problem that is coming in his life. And that speed means spontaneity. Spontaneity is the strength. The education is nothing but learning effective spontaneity. Spontaneity comes only by building habits. Habit is nothing but our comfort for conserving energy like reflex actions. Character also was mentioned by Dr. Subramania. Character is nothing but collection of habits. How is the character of that boy for my daughter's wedding? Then what first we will ask, what are the habits? Without knowing habits, we cannot understand the character. So how are we helping people to form habits so that he conserves the energy to spare it for further innovative learning? Because imagination is more powerful than knowledge, according to Einstein. And so when you say this, most of these things I quote because most of my original thoughts come from others. And I get educated by others' ideas. Thereafter, I own it without intellectual property right. See, that is the way I learn. Intellectual property right, I don't accept it. Intellectual property is wrong. So not right. So this is the very important fundamental thing is learning the process rather than the content. When you are capable of converting this process into content, and content develops a theme. Theme is folded and kept in our memory, and it comes spontaneously whenever there is a need, when I am impacted by a situation in the environment. So I own it. Education is owning so many things for response, spontaneous response. And in spontaneity, I have to be very careful in discretion. So haste should be avoided first. Haste is always post haste. See, speed becomes haste only when you fail. Till that time, it is not haste. A wonderful speed he is driving, a fine driver, until an accident is committed. He would have gone a little slow and hasty fellow like that. So ultimately, he gives a ticket to us to a different destination. So this is the most important thing. So essential points, as you are told, sir, I have been triggered with so many things, and I am, but not confused. Once I start confusion, only fusion will happen, intelligence will happen. So confusion is welcome in education. People get confused only when they think, otherwise they don't get confused. So I want, are you confused? I will ask. People say, yes, sir, you are confusing. I am fusing. You are only confusing. Why are you saying I am confusing you? If you are confused, wonderful, congratulations. So that some understanding will take place. Because two different things, if we do not contrast and compare, we don't know what is choosable. See, choice is made only when there are two things. So for that, you are helping a person to make many choices. And being simple, that is the one. Making things simple. Education is nothing but a focused simplicity. I have to be simple. Being simple is the most difficult thing. There is a book by William Schultz, Profound Simplicity. The title itself is very attractive. Simplicity is profound. Once you go into the too deeply into simplicity, it becomes invention and essential products that are all invented. So how simplicity is not wearing only banyan and walking. That simplicity, what we are saying socially, is a very simple person. Like that we are saying, no. Being simple is making the other person to understand, accept, and become aware of himself. Understand Ramalingam, accept it. These are the things. Essentially, I say understand others and become aware of yourselves. For that, if a facilitation takes place, facilitation is creating an internal and external climate is called facilitation. And when it is taking place, all education is, that's why I say Mata, Pita, Guru, Deva. See, they're the gurus. And it's beyond Guru, I will to introduce Guru, Deva. It ends there. Thereafter, father, mother also will not come. See, my father has to become Guru, mother has to become Guru, and Guru is always a Guru. And that is the end. Guru is there because he is helping the other person to be free, to be simple, to be spontaneous to the environmental challenges. And more than anything else, is he continuously challenging himself. For that, an attitude, a cash was developed. Cash means knowledge. K stands for knowledge, A for attitude, S for skills, H for heart. And if you are creating this cash in his bank account, bank is himself. So when this bank cash is increasing within that guy, education is successful. I salute all those who give it to the future generation and they build India, not students. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ramalingam, for giving such a beautiful presentation as well as describing what is the essence of education. I need not to repeat. I will only just highlight one thing which he has said, that when a child is born and the umbilical cord is cut, at that time the pain, and that pain is giving the sense of education, because you are learning at that time. You are coming, you do not want to come out of the comfort zone of your mother's womb, but you are coming out. So once you are in the society, you have to learn each and every step. You have to learn from everyone. And according to him, his education is from the others. And if you are not confused, you are not going to get the correct knowledge. And that is the essence of knowledge, according to Mr. Ramalingam. Thank you very much, Mr. Ram. Paucity of time, so I will not be able to summarize much, but I know the viewers have already understood what he has spoken such nicely. Thank you very much once again. Now I would like to invite my next guest panelist, and he is Professor Dr. R. Gopal. Professor Dr. R. Gopal is the director and head of the Department of D.Y. Patil University. He is the former Dean, D.Y. Patil University School of Management. He is basically an engineer from IIT Kharagpur in mechanical engineering. He is also MBA, ICWA, PhD, and postdoctoral research degree DLIT. He is also the member board of management of the Ajinkya D.Y. Patil University. He has more than 27 years of corporate experience with Bush India Limited, L&T, Tata Economic Consultancy Services, and Siemens. Additionally, he has more than 30 years of teaching experience in various B schools in around Mumbai in the areas of marketing, finance, and general management, etc. He was the visiting faculty in several business schools in USA. In the USA, he has conducted several programs on topics like how to business in India. He has also published more than 200 research papers, both in Indian and foreign journals. He has been awarded the Best Outstanding Research Paper at the Asia Pacific Marketing Conference held in Malaysia. He is also a reviewer to several international journals having a high impact factor. He is the guide for MPhil and PhD students of several universities in India. More than 100 research scholars have received their PhD and MPhil degrees under his guidance. He is also the author of several books and is the chief editor to several national and international journals of repute. Dr. R. Gopal is the recipient of several national and international awards. Few of them which I can name right now is like Rashtriya Vidya Saraswati Puruskar, Rashtriya Vikas Ratan Award, Glory of India Award, Rajiv Gandhi Education Excellence Award, Best Teacher Award, Best Management Teacher Award, Educationist Award, Star of Asia Award, and many, many, many more. Welcome, Dr. R. Gopal on our show. Dr. Gopal, you have heard what Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. P. Subramania has spoken. Then our Mr. Ramalingam has given their views on the essence of education. Now, we would like to know from you the essence of education. Professor Dr. R. Gopal, please.
Good morning, Lal Saab, and good morning to the panelists, Professor Subramaniam, Javed Jamil, Ramalingam, and all the participants who are viewing it on YouTube, Global TV, etc., etc. The topic for the day given is on essence of education. The issue to me is essentially, when we say essence of education, essence for whom? Is it for the students? Is it for the faculties? Is it for the statutory authorities? For whom is it? And the best source for understanding this, I begin with saying the NEP 2020. The NEP 2020, in its quest to make India great, from the academic point of view, have developed a beautiful blueprint. It has accepted that there are disruptions taking place. And according to the blueprint, the essential points are: university can develop its own degree program. Now, this is very important, which means we don't have to follow structure. We can change the situation, we can work on it, and we can move towards a better, holistic development of the child. Second, all teachers must undergo continuous performance, continuous professional development program. And this is very, very essential because, as everybody said, learning is continuous. And therefore, we teachers have to learn, relearn, unlearn, and relearn again. Attract students from the global world so that we learn the culture of the different communities and different parts of the world. In order to do this, we must have global accreditation, and these global accreditations help us in understanding how the world is developing on the education field. One very, very important thing which is the most biggest disruptive that the NEP 2020 has said. It has talked about transfer of credits from one university to another through the academic banking of credits. And most important, which both Subramania and Ramalingam have talked about, is the holistic development of the child. Now, why is all this required? And this is required because the economy has thrown a big challenge. Changing student demographics. There is an information blast. And when I say what do I mean by information blast, you name a subject and there are at least thousands and thousands of pages of information available. Can we learn all of this? Can we understand all of this? And before that, can we read all of this? I do not know. Institutions, a large number of them have increased to become profit for growth or for-profit institutions. The workplace has changed. Work from home has increased. Stress levels have moved up. New technologies are coming up. And all this is creating a large amount of problems. Why am I talking all this? Because if we don't understand this, then how will you understand what exactly is the essence of education, which we as faculty members have to impart to the students? Now, before we go there are a large number of expectations, which is also part of that essence, that life which the student or the learner has to understand. Expectation from whom? Expectation from the stakeholders. The student is not interested in learning something from the books. He wants something more. He wants something more practical. He wants to have a holistic development. He wants to understand many, many things. The parent says, I have given birth to the child, but you, the school, is the actual guardian of the child. I want you to develop the child and make him big. Give him an entrepreneurship. Give him a good placement. Make him a good citizen of India. Make him a good citizen of the world. And for that, you have to be like a guardian for 24/7. The statutory authorities are concerned with the compliance of the acts, the rules, etc. The management is interested in the profits. What does industry want? Industry says that a student must have a theoretical knowledge, about 20%, must have an application knowledge, about 40%, and bulk of things must be on holistic development. That means, how do we all communicate? How do we all live together? How do we all go together? It is not just learning, relearning, etc. But all of this must make me a good citizen of this world. From this above, we can therefore conclude that the essence of education is that the student must have a rounded development. He should be a good citizen and contribute to the society at large. Service to the humanity is the key. The Gurukul system that we had earlier, maybe the Nalanda University of ancient India, endeavored that the students are taught all the skills that are required for the sustenance of life. And while imparting this knowledge, special emphasis was given to those skills which would make life easy for the student, which would help the child in making a choice for the future, and above all, give him an opportunity to develop those skills which are required so that he can excel in the world. Everybody talked about learning, relearning, sustainability, etc., etc. My essential question is, a school student spends about 20 to 25 years in the university, at the school, at the university. How do we as HEIs, how do we as universities really contribute? It's easy to say, but we as faculties, we as directors, we as vice chancellors have a duty to perform. Our job is to inculcate certain skills, certain values, certain essences into the student so that he becomes a rounded personality, so that he is able to contribute to the society at large. And that is one of the most important things. I have been talking to a lot of people on this. And from them, I have developed a 15-point strategy. And what is that? First, use of innovative technology like reverse teaching, experiential learning, mind mapping, organization industrial visits, so that the student understands and does not become a bookworm. He understands what's happening in the practical world. Visits to urban, visits to rural villages, so that he understands the entire society and does not live in his own cocoon world that he thinks about. Organizing international visits to understand the culture. Swami Vivekananda did that. Why did he go to Chicago? Why did he go to Europe? He went to Europe only to understand the culture and spread the thought of Hinduism. Organized guest lectures, live projects, industry-institute interaction, and very, very important, India is a land where 60% of the people are living in the rural villages, and if you permit me to say, they are living below the poverty line. Can we develop that habit of doing something good for the society? And how can you do that? Institute social responsibility actions are the key. Like your CSR, we have ISR, which is the key from the institute side, which will bring about a closeness between society and the individual. Skill development is another very important issue. Then very, very important, because the university, that 25 years is an area where the student develops his ethical systems, is develops, and therefore we need to have a good governance system. Creating e-cells, incubation, helping them become an entrepreneur. These are some of the things which I wanted to talk about. And a happy faculty can only spread happiness. And when I see somebody else happy, I want to be happy myself. And last but not the least, guys, last but not the least, today all of us look at learning, look at the university life, whether I do not know whether Subramaniam and Jamil will agree with me or not, but I find the students find the education imparted in the universities are boring. Mark my words, I'm using a very strong word, boring. Can we make it pleasurable? Can we make it enjoyable? Can we make it such that the student can learn throughout his life, can learn whenever he wants to learn? Now, these are issues which are important. And for me, therefore, I would like to end by saying, if we can implement, if we as HEIs can implement these ground rules, even a few of them, I think we have captured the essence of education and transmitted to the students so that they can develop in a very big way. My own motto is that every student of mine must become a successful student in the world, must become a person for whom service to humanity is the key. And with these few words, I would like to end my talk. Thank you, and God bless all of you all. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gopal, for giving your views. And Dr. Gopal has very clearly highlighted, but one thing I would like to highlight, what he has mentioned is that the true essence of this education is to impart the happiness. And he has made a very important point, and he said, he has put a caveat also, that many of the people will not accept it or like it, that the students feel the university education is very boring. And he says, until unless we will not give a proper, interesting education to the students, it's not possible to really impart a proper education. And he has mentioned that a student who is spending about 20 to 25 years in the from school to university, if the student is not technically or skilled person, then what is the use? How he can be a real citizen who can develop our country if he is not getting the proper education which he enjoys when he's studying? Thank you very much, Dr. Gopal. Paucity of time, lots of things, but I am definitely coming back to you for a question on this, which we have asked, which you have raised now so much, very powerfully. Now, I would like to invite my next guest, and he's Dr. Javed Jamil. Dr. Javed Jamil is the head of chair in Islamic Studies and Research at Yenopaya University, Bangalore. He's an India-based thinker and writer. He has authored more than 20 books in the field of religious studies, current affairs, and health. He has also authored more than 700 articles published in newspapers, magazines, and journals. His works include The Devil of Economic Fundamentalism, Islam Means Peace, In Search of a Comprehensive Solution for AIDS, Rediscovering the Universe, Family Welfare in Islam, Economics First or Health First, and Justice imprisoned. Welcome, Dr. Javed Jamil, on our show. Dr. Jamil, you have heard Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. P. Subramania, you have heard Mr. Ram Lingam, you have heard Professor Dr. R. Gopal. Now, we would like to know from you your views, essence of education. Dr. Javed Jamil, please.
Good morning, everybody. And I feel very little in front of such big people like Professor Subramania and two other personalities. Professor Subramania was last year with my book. He released my book and he gave a 40-minute presentation, such a beautiful presentation. He summed up the whole picture in such a beautiful way that the whole program became real successful. And now I am not basically an academician in the category of the present day speakers here. I am only in a thinking mode, and my way of thinking is a little different. I want to see education in the context of the present scenario at the world level. Normally, we tend to hear that education means to become better human beings. But unfortunately, we are living in a world where education means nothing but to become a better commercial being. We are living in a world which I call, it is under the impact of economic fundamentalism. If somebody thinks that we are living in a world of sciences, then I say that it is wrong. If somebody thinks we are living in a world of religion, then obviously this is not true. Religion is the most maligned thing in today's world. And if ethics are ruling the world, it is also not true. But if we are living in a world, it is only of economics, because it is only the economic forces which are ruling everything, which are deciding everything. And this change started coming in the wake of Industrial Revolution, which is around 300 to 400 years back. And previously also, everybody was money lover. Everybody, it is in human nature to love money and to love those things which come out of money. But previously, people were doing it at an individual level. Now, with the growth of industrialization, these commercial people, this business community, they got together and they tried to bring everything under their impact. Because now they knew that to commercialize and to globalize things, they cannot simply rely on the old methods. They have to impact every single affair of the world. So they started changing the things. They changed the political structure. They changed the social structure. They almost banished the religion, describing it as something obsolete. And they controlled the legal system, legal machinery. They changed the law. They changed almost everything. And the biggest change they made was on the educational system. Now everything about education got changed in the last 200, 300 years. So what we are seeing now is that education aims two things. Number one, that people should either become employees of the corporate world of the market, or they should become bigger, better consumers of the corporate market. Of the corporate market. So they want us to become either their employees in one way or the other, directly or indirectly, or they want us to become their consumers. That is the real aim. And that is why that despite the education living such high levels, we are living in a world where crimes are going continuously up, where despite the fact that health structure has become so much developed, we see that the diseases are killing people in millions and millions, diseases which should have been controlled, because we know more about the facts and the statistics, but we are not controlling them, because it is the way the market functions. They first commercialize the problems and then they commercialize weaknesses. So now the education has also become totally industrialized, and this is becoming a real problem. We are no more human beings. We do not concern about others. We are not concerned about the larger aims of society. We are not concerned about what actually life means. The first most important thing in the life is that life should be healthy, not personal health. It is the health of everybody. Then the second most important thing is that we should be good part of the society. Society should be free of crime. Society should be free of exploitation. Society should be free of disparities. But unfortunately, these things are zooming horrendously in almost every part of the world. And the bigger truth is that the more advanced a nation is, the more so-called civilized nations of the world, they suffer from these problems much more than the so-called uncivilized or uneducated nations. So this is the problem. This is because we have turned education only limited to producing employees or to make them better consumers. Now, when we walk in the universities, specifically in the private universities, there are hardly 20 to 30% students who are really brilliant, who perform. But just 70% of the students, they just go to enjoy the life. Good clothes should be there. Everything that should be good clothes. The culture they are taught there. That is just what markets want. They want people to go to the hotels where they are disturbing the equilibrium which is there very much due to family system. Now, what I love most about India is, compared to basically the Western countries, is that in India, despite the challenges, family system is very strong. And family is the greatest educator of child. So family has the ability to guide the child, to guide the student who is going to the school, that no, don't do this thing, don't do that thing. But unfortunately, today we see that in schools, students are told, and even parents are told, that don't guide your children, don't tell them what to do, what not to do. It may be good in terms of what they should become as part of their career. We should not insist upon them that they should become engineers, or they should become doctors, or they should become IAS officers. Let them have their own choice. That far is true. But it is become not too much. They are expected to, no, don't tell your girls that you should be modest, your boys that you should not do this thing, you should not do this thing. Unfortunately, we are living in a world where freedom of choice has also become a very distorted type of concept. In the name of freedom of choice, students, specifically the younger generation, are being driven into habits that kill people, that are killing people in one way or the other. Today, I was attending a seminar, the international seminar on COVID the other day, and in that I also talked that till now, in 1 year, due to COVID, 26 lakh people have died all over the world. And there is hue and cry, everybody, everywhere there is COVID. You watch any media, there is COVID. But due to alcoholism, every year 35 lakhs people die directly due to the diseases caused by alcohol. Then there are another 50 lakhs who die out of the other effects. Due to alcohol, alcohol is also playing a major role in creation of HIV and AIDS. Alcohol is related to the accidents. Alcohol is related to the crimes. But do you ever hear in the media these statistics? They will never talk about this. HIV AIDS has killed about 3 crore people, 3.8 crore people in the last 25 years. But sex has become a big market. So people are told that, oh, you cannot marry before a certain age, but you can have relationship. So all these things, because they have tried to banish religion, because every religion, whichever religion it is, whether it is Hinduism, it is Christianity, Islam, every religion teaches first thing is what is morality. And I define morality into 3 types. One is the religious morality, what religion tells, this is good, this is bad. The other thing is scientific morality, what science says, specifically health sciences tell, this is good, this is bad. And the third thing is commercial morality, what markets are telling, oh, this is good, this is bad. Now, if you go deeper and you find the statistics, you will see that religious morality and scientific morality are almost the same. What religion tells, it is wrong. Sciences also tell it is wrong. But scientific morality and commercial morality are at the loggerheads. They are opposite to each other. What sciences tell, markets tell the opposite. Sciences are telling us that alcohol is a big killer. Smoking is a big killer. But if smoking is killing 60 lakhs people every year, how come smoking is being marketed? How come alcohol is being marketed when it is creating huge problems? So the education, the reason behind education has become only commercial. It is only commercial, nothing else. So unless we learn, and due to this, specifically after industrialization of education, things have become very bad. Now economic disparity already growing, but this is also playing with the lives of the students. I see, because I'm in a medical private university here, so I have seen, and I keep hearing about it. Yeah, I am a medical student. I am a product of King George's Medical College, Lucknow, which at that time, when I got selected in 1976, used to be the second biggest ranking institution. I got the 8th position in PMT. I got around 94-95% marks in the competition. Then I got selected, and most of the students who went to medical colleges, they got more than 85-86% marks. Now, today, when private medical colleges and government medical colleges both are there, the poor man, the poor student, still cannot hope to become a doctor if he has even got 85% marks in NEET. But if you are rich, then even if you have got less than 50% marks, then NRI quota is available there. There are so many quotas there. You can easily become a doctor. You can easily become a surgeon. You can easily become something. So what is this? If education is teaching this to this world, then unfortunately we are not living in a civilized world. We are not living in an educated world. And I personally believe in universalism. Even nationalism, I believe, should be subjected to universalism. Nationalism is a very good thing. We should be concerned about our own people first. Then we should concerned about the world. But nationalism shouldn't mean that we should be selfish. In our country, we shouldn't think about other countries. So we have to learn to become human beings. For me, the essence of education is that education should first teach you that how you can improve your own life without costing the lives of the others. If you are improving your own life at the cost of others, then it is not education. And the second thing is how you can contribute. How you can contribute. I have read Bible, Old Testament, New Testament. I have read Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana, Gita, Vedas. Everywhere the same picture. I believe that religious morality, when I talk to the different people, because in India, unfortunately, religion is becoming transformed into communalism.
Please be brief.
Okay. They are different things. Religion and communalism are two different things. Religion teaches religious morality. Communalism is based on religious identity, which creates hatred. So religious morality should be supreme. And now, if we learn that the aim of learning is basically to become good humans, to create a society which is cleaner, which is healthier, which is more peaceful, then unfortunately, then I'm not in favor of this kind of education. How far you can be skilled, how far you can have technology, that is not going to help us. So we have to learn that education has to be for the human, for the mankind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Javed Jamil. And I will just add one of the point which he has raised is very important. He says that today education is either making you an employee or making you a good consumer. So either you become an employee or a consumer. You are not becoming a human being. And unless the education will not make you human, then this education is not a good education. And the essence of education is not what that should be. Thank you very much, Dr. Jamil. Because of the paucity of time, I have to ask you to be brief. But this is because it's a live telecast, it has to time limit is there. Now I would like to ask the question. My question goes first to the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. P. Subramania. Dr. P. Subramania, do you think National Education Policy 2020 will improve the quality of education in India. Why I am asking this question? We have done 2-3 programs on this. There is very clearly mentioned in the month of July that when this policy was released, that the 6% will be given in this particular thing. But in the budget which has released, only 2.3% or 2.8%, I stand correct, 2.8% was given to the education. So if it is not, then how it will be implementable? If it is not going to be implemented, then we are talking of essence of education, it stands nowhere. What are your views about this, Professor Dr. P. Subramania, please?
Okay, it's a very excellent and tricky.
But time is limited, 1 minute.
Yeah. The point is, as far as NEP 2020 is concerned, to cut the long story short, mindset is the challenge and implementation is the key. It is applicable to all the policies. It's only a policy document. And to implement all these things, there should be corresponding financial support or budgetary support, statutory changes, and enforcement agencies. Everything should be there. Just like in the Constitution. The Constitution is wonderful, but it depends on the people who implement the constitutional provisions. Same thing here. That's all. Everything depends upon the people.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. P. Subramaniam. Now, my question is to Mr. Ram Lingam. Mr. Ram, everybody talked about the morality and the values, etc. But the main crux is, do you think more emphasis should be given to primary education in India? We are talking about higher education and everything. But if our foundation is weak, then how we can give a good education, quality education to a student? Mr. Ram Lingam, please.
You see, as far as I am concerned, I am an incorrigible optimist. See, one thing is the world is moving in the right direction, always I believe. And about morality, I want to say only one thing. Morality cannot be educated, it can only be modeled. This is one thing. About education is possible only when a person is below 12.
Okay.
That is the most important thing I want to say this.
Okay.
Education is more important than it's not alphabet and linguistic structure, because we are born with the languages. And Naomi Chomsky got Nobel Prize also on that. Everyone was born with the same language. Thereafter, mother tongue is created, mostly by fathers, not by mother. See, this is something. Morality is, in spite of it, citizenship training, all that was there, and schooling only.
Okay, thank you very much.
This is the only thing, it can be only modeled.
Okay.
And value and ethics, he told, value is from inner side, ethics is on the impact of your decision. Value is on the impelling part of it.
Thank you, Mr. Ram, for giving answer. My question to Dr. Gopal. Dr. Gopal, there is a recent news which has come today only. Maths, physics no longer mandatory for engineering entry as per AICTE. Do you agree? And you were talking about the skill. The current data suggests that only 2.3% of the workforce in India has undergone formal skill training, as compared to 68% in UK, 75% in Germany, 52% in USA, 80% in Japan, and 96% in South Korea. And if maths and physics will no longer mandatory for the engineers, what is with the future? Do you agree, being an engineer yourself? Dr. R. Gopal, 1 minute answer, please. Time is...
Lal Saab, what you said is just not very correct. Being an engineer, and when you are an engineer, maths, physics, and chemistry are the essence. You cannot get away from it.
So
you must have it. You must have it. Vishwakarma built many temples and all that. And if you see, if you go down to Padmaswamy temple in Kerala, the sun comes right through the temple twice a year. How is that possible?
So Dr. Gopal, according to you, this is compulsory. Then why AICTE? Why? What happened to them? I don't know. Anyway, we will keep a discussion on this again. I am definitely going to ask this topic on this, because this is something which has already created the controversies, and many academics are raising the question, how come AICTE has come out with this type of suggestion even. Thank you very much, Dr. Gopal, for giving your views. Now, my question is to Dr. Javed Jamil. You were saying about the Indian education, and question, only 1 minute for you. Where the basic difference between Indian education and Western education, according to you?
Ideally, it should be a bit different, but now we see that Indian education is also becoming westernized. Learn good things from West. Technology is an important thing, but what we had, which is morality, family values, that thing should be strongly built up in students also, in the colleges also. We have to make them feel that the family system, how important is it, how important is morality, how important is the moral part of religion. So that things should have been told, because in India, almost 95% of the people believe in one religion or the other. So we cannot sideline religion the way it has been sidelined in America or European countries.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Jamil. So today you have seen a very, very educative, informative thoughts by the very, very elite panelists. And they have mentioned very clearly that whatsoever education is imparting in India, we have to see to it, it should be on the basis of values, on the basis of morals, as well as we have to see that the child should learn not only for him or herself, but for others, because he or her has to be compassionate, empathetic for others. And until this will not come, we cannot claim that the essence of education in India, we are in a leader. If we have to become the global leader, we have to change our thoughts process from the very beginning. The educators, the teachers, the professors have to change their style of teaching, as well as the civil society has to change their attitude for the children. They should not treat the teachers as a commodity or as a marketed thing, that they will just pay the money to a school or university and think that now this is the responsibility. The responsibility lies even within the family, with the civil society. Thank you very much, all the panelists, for giving our this very, very informative, educative thoughts. Today's program, which has been live telecasted on V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, Newsgaon se Samvad Sarokar News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you everyday current topic. But tomorrow being Sunday, tomorrow is a edutainment day. That is the educational and entertainment. And tomorrow our topic, I will say, is Dil Ka Najrana, because it's an entertainment, and our guest artists are Mrs. Uma and Mr. Sandeep Kapadia, trained professional singers from Mumbai. They will be presenting the program tomorrow just to entertain, because 6 days we have a very, very hot topics, but at least one day we give the entertainment. So tomorrow, wait for Dil Ka Najrana, or media conference with Lal Goyal at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. P. Subramania. Thank you very much, Mr. Ramlingam. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. R. Gopal. Thank you very much, Dr. Javed Jamil. And thank you all the viewers for listening today's very, very enlightening, thought-provoking program. Thank you very much.